Chapter 1: The Game Miracle. Randomly matching campsite, safe zone. Please wait a moment. Campsite matching successful. Mike had finally entered the game. This was not an ordinary game. In 2030, disaster had suddenly befallen Earth. A large number of exotic beasts had invaded the human world. Humans could only hide in various base cities to protect themselves. At this critical moment, the top human talents worked together to develop a holographic online game, Miracle. All humans could enter the game and fight against exotic beasts in the real world. The disaster had finally turned around. Mike logged into the game immediately, and everything in front of him slowly turned white. Then he appeared in the camp. This was not the bustling novice area that Mike had imagined. Instead, it was a small camp with only NPCs and a few bonfires. Mike was the only player at the camp, which was surrounded by small stones. Can this camp stop exotic beasts? Mike hurried to look outside, and for the time being, he did not see any danger. When he came to the edge of the camp, Mike reached out to touch the void. This was no invisible energy shield like he had imagined. It was really just a small camp that probably couldn't even stop dogs from invading. As he walked out of the camp, there was a pungent smell, and it was a smell that Mike had never smelled before. It was very obvious that it came from an exotic beast. When he returned to the camp, the smell was gone. It seemed that the camp still had some protection. Mike didn't need to worry too much about survival for the time being. Approaching the camp, you could tell it was obviously a novice NPC. Welcome to Miracle, hero of Earth. You now have an energy body with the potential to fight exotic beasts. You can nurture this body to become stronger. All resources can be obtained through exploration. Try not to leave the camp for the first 3 days. The camp can guarantee your safety within these 3 days. There are many ways for the energy body to become stronger. There are still many unknowns waiting to be explored. So far, the game cannot guarantee absolute peace between players, and there are situations of players hunting each other. The game is temporarily powerless against this. Please be vigilant. The energy body only has one life. Although there are ways to resurrect in the game, it is in a semi-unknown state. Please explore it yourself. Remember, there are good and bad unknowns. Rashly exploring the unknowns may backfire. Good luck to all players. Mike sighed. The situation was not as simple as he had imagined. Although this was a game, it was highly integrated with reality. There were many unknowns, and there were also many things beyond his control. Anyway, Mike did not think that players could still fight each other. When was this? After reading the introduction of the NPC's worldview, Mike looked at the basic interface. Attributes. Inventory. Chat box. Trade market. Quest pane. Crafting. It was similar to a normal game. Mike looked at attributes. First, know yourself and know your enemy. Player, Mike. Level, 0. Equipment, none. Skills, none. Class, unspecialized. Experience, 0. Overall combat power, 5. Pure newbie attributes. He looked inside the inventory. It was empty. Not even a newbie gift bag. There was also nothing in the quest pane, but there were some comments. The quest pane is used to issue special missions, such as bounties, world bosses. It is not used daily and can be ignored. The other interfaces were the same, and there was nothing much to see for the newbies. Only the chat box was left. World channel. Regional channel. Party channel. System channel. This was the only place for the newbies to play. The game had just started, and everyone started the same way. They observed other people's experiences. He opened the World channel to check. This game is too difficult. I can't even kill a single exotic beast, how can a human play this? The potential of fighting an exotic beast and the strength of fighting an exotic beast are two completely different concepts. When my character is injured, my movements will also slow down. What is this? Hell mode? Don't tell me I can also still get hungry and thirsty. Hasn't anyone left the camp yet? I'm already a cripple. This is too disgusting. I opened a wooden box and my character was poisoned to death. Everyone, don't be too curious, don't touch anything. Countless messages flashed through the World channel. It was available in every language, and it was automatically translated by the system. There was a time limit for posting world messages, and the cooldown for a world message was 12 hours. Even so, the message kept flashing crazily, and it was impossible to see any message clearly without a pause. One could imagine how many players there were with the numerous complaints. Mike checked over 100 messages, but he didn't see any good news. They were all complaining, and wailing. After all, fighting real exotic beasts is not the same as playing house games in the past. Mike could understand the high difficulty level of the game. He continued to watch the World channel. Through these messages, Mike did his best to expand his understanding of the game. For example, now he learned that opening a wooden box casually could cause poisoning. The more he watched, the more danger he could avoid. Basically, Mike watched all the bad things that newbies could encounter on the World channel. He not only watched the World channel but the regional channel as well. Mike was seriously digesting all sorts of risk notifications. I'm respawning again. Am I the god of the camp? I don't even dare to take a step out. Is there anyone who is as unlucky as me? There are exotic beasts outside the camp that are poisoning me. I'll die as soon as I step out. How do I start? Mike, who was looking through the many messages, was suddenly shocked. There was also this situation where the camp was surrounded by poison. How was he supposed to play this game? It seems like he couldn't stay in the camp forever. He had to be brave enough to go out and explore. Otherwise, once things developed into such a terrible situation, he wouldn't even have the chance to go out. Mike closed the chat box and stopped looking. It was time for him to go out and explore on his own. The NPCs in the camp are all useful. After clearing them all, I basically have the ability to go out and explore. But that's only the basics, very basic. Mike recalled the information he had learned from the world news. NPCs were indeed useful. Some gave axes, some gave clothes, and some gave shoes to be equipped. Mike's combat power rose from 5 points to 12 points, although he was still at the level that he could easily be killed by an exotic beast in one blow. He came before the two most important NPCs. The first one was an old man that existed in every camp. After getting a class medal, you can go to another NPC to choose a class. With a class, there would be skills to improve combat power by a lot. NPC, Camp Old Man, with hidden information. When Mike approached the old man NPC, he suddenly saw a hint that did not exist on other NPCs. Hidden information. What was this? Mike checked through the World channel for a long time, but no one mentioned anything about it. Strange. Mike was stunned. Chapter 2, Class Medals, Choosing a Class. Class Medals. Combining all sorts of information, Mike learned that there was an unknown in this, and it was something that hadn't been thoroughly studied. It was said that class medals came from studying the corpses of exotic beasts. As for the specifics, it was still unclear. That was all he knew. The medals contained a surge of power that was harmless to the human body. With that power, only energy body had the potential to choose a class. Please choose your class medal. Medals are divided into Amazon, Barbarian, Necromancer, Paladin, Mage, Assassin, Druid. Choosing a medal changes you into the corresponding class. Up to this point, everything was normal. It was exactly the same as what Mike had learned from the World Channel. Only female players can choose from Amazon. I can choose from the other medals. As for the pros and cons of each class, I have no idea at all, Mike observed. He combined it with information from the chat. After learning what class to choose, he didn't just look at the future and potential. The most important thing was to consider the present. He had to figure out which class to use to deal with the exotic beasts outside his camp. Then, that class would be chosen. Otherwise, if he couldn't even get out of the camp, it would be useless even if he chose a class with great potential. Whichever class should I use to deal with the exotic beasts outside requires at least a few hours of observation. As for the pros and cons of the class and its potential, it's still in its early stages. No one seems to have figured it out yet, Mike muttered to himself. Mike looked at the class medal up close. Barbarian class medal, beginner. Suddenly, Mike saw the words on the class medal. What was going on? After watching the World Channel for a long time, Mike had long understood that the class medals were very mysterious, and there were no introductions to them. Wasn't this an introduction now? It was even marked beginner, and that wasn't all. Barbarian class medal, beginner. Overview, melee physical attack. Increase, physical attack +3, defense +5, vitality +10. Potential, beginner. Skills, combat gores, beginner, increases physical defense. Recommended level, extremely low. Description, barbarian has high vitality, medium defense, and relatively low damage. However, the more serious the injury, the higher the damage. In a near-death state, it would turn into a high-explosive class. The beginner class medal contains very little power. It cannot fully display the advantage of the barbarian class. There is very little room for growth in the future. It is not recommended to be used. Mike was stunned. If beginner was not considered an introduction, this must be considered an introduction, right? What benefits the medal would bring, the degree of recommendation, the appraisal, it was all clear to him. It was already detailed to this extent. The players of the World Channel had complained that they did not know how to choose a class medal. Was it because they did not know how to weigh the pros and cons? Were they just a bunch of giant babies? Mike opened the World Channel again, wanting to understand everyone's evaluation of the class medal. With such a detailed description, there would definitely be a lot of discussion about the class. In the World Channel. I'm going to vomit. I thought necromancers used magic attacks, but in the end, it was a summoning type class, and the summoned creature uses physical attacks. Exotic beasts are afraid of magic attacks, and undead summons can be killed with a slap, and me along with it. Summons. Pudge, why are you complaining? Do you know how lucky you are? As a necromancer, I can only cast a minor spell every time. It doesn't do any damage at all. To distinguish between physical and magic attacks is already the limit, there's really too little information about each class. The class medals don't even describe whether they have physical or magic attacks. I had to die a few times to figure it out. What's the use of the paladin class? It looks like a tank, but the exotic beast killed me with one slap. Is that how a tank works? Barbarians have high HP, medium defense, and low physical damage. However, the closer they are to death, the higher the damage. Paladins have medium HP, high defense, and can recover HP. Their damage is very low. Among all the classes, the lowest is a healer. It's very difficult to use paladins in the early stages. Will that lead to a shortage of the paladin class in the future, causing a serious imbalance? Who cares about the late stages? We can't even get past the early stages. I've discovered that assassins are easy to level up. They have low HP, low defense, fast speed, and extremely high damage. Play a little dirty, and you can kill exotic beasts in one wave. There's still too little information. It would be good if we could have more. Sigh. It would be good if we could directly see what skills we would obtain. Directly see the skills. Are you living in a dream? In the beginning, everyone's discussion still left Mike uncertain. The further he looked, the more he felt that something was wrong. It seemed that none of them could see the detailed information introduction like Mike, as up until now, no one had talked about the detailed introduction. Am I the only one who can see the introduction? Mike couldn't help but think so. It seemed like it was true. Mike continued to look at the other classes. Mage class medal, beginner. Overview, long-ranged magic attack. Growth, magic attack plus 12. Potential, beginner. Skills, fireball, beginner, increases magic attack, additional ignite effect. Recommended level, extremely low. Description, Mage class has extreme damage in magic attacks, and they take the most extreme path of explosive damage. As a result, this class is very fragile and easy to die. Beginner Mage class medal, which only increases a small number of spells and has no ability to protect itself, extremely useless. Not recommended to use. It was also a beginner class medal. Mike looked at the other class medals and realized they were all beginner class medals as well. Only Amazon, which was limited to women, which Mike could not use, was the first intermediate class medal. In other words, the level of a class medal is random and not uniform. Does this also depend on whether the game likes your face or not? Mike was a little helpless. His face went a little dark. There was only one intermediate class medal, and it was limited to women. However, he should be able to level up in the future as long as he explored it well. He wouldn't be stuck at beginner all the time. I don't know what is the hidden information of the old man in the camp. There is hidden information. Mike had been busy understanding the class medal. It was time to understand this hidden information. In the old man's medal warehouse, there are a few higher tier medals that will not be given to the players because they suspect that there is a risk. Give the old man in the camp good wine to persuade him to take out higher tier class medals. Damn. The old man was actually hiding something. Mike was starting to like the advantage of being able to see hidden information more and more. Because the content of the hidden information was too dense. It was like cheating. I remember that there are NPCs selling good wine in the camp. I must start with a special advanced tier class medal. Mike was eager to try. In the news channel, there were already players leveling up. The highest level was already level 10. It seemed that those who complained were not doing well, and those who were capable were quietly exploring and leveling up. The players were not as useless as he had imagined. The hidden big shots had already begun to take action.